Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. Today we're talking about Street Fighter 6 and the fact, well, it's the 1 year anniversary of the game. Time flies, huh? 1 year anniversary, we're going to be talking about 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, probably 5 year, probably maybe 6 year. We'll see. Street Fighter 6 is going to be here for the long haul. And that said, I just want to talk about some of the ups and downs of Street Fighter 6 over this year. What worked, what didn't, what can be held for the future, and also there's some stuff going on right now if you log in. So I guess let's talk about that first. Right now, with the 1 year anniversary, they're holding a effective popularity contest in the Battle Hub. Just vote for who's your top tier. Since these things tend to have a little bit of weight for the future, I voted with my heart. So hopefully Hakan, we can go there, do some damage, and be DLC down the road. I did want to vote T-Hawk, but realistically, Lily's already in the game, so he doesn't stand much of a chance. So this is me trying to change the future. And that said, go to Battle Hub, vote for yourself, because once again, these things do carry a little bit of weight. You can even see who's winning the polls, as it were. And a few things become fairly apparent fairly quickly because of this. Aki is winning, which I did not expect, so Aki being in Street Fighter 7 down the road, pretty safe bet. Sakura at number 2. A little bit ago, I made a video about my thoughts on Season 2 DLC and beyond. And I had Sakura in the video as a very likely character to show up because, like Akuma, she doesn't need to be base roster because they know you will pay money for her. And Sakura being at number 2, ahead of Akuma, by the way, makes that a pretty safe bet all the more. Makoto placing very highly too bodes very well for her showing up as DLC down the road. And, well, I don't need to go over every single character, because you can draw your own conclusions. Go check it in the Battle Hub. I'm sure it will fluctuate over time, as, this is only day 1 of votes. We'll see how that goes. Just, this is the kind of thing they pay attention to. More popular characters, as per the fans' own voting, probably more likely to make it in as DLC than not. Although, of course, nothing's fully set in stone, but basically, just go cast your vote. If you don't get the character you wanted, and you didn't vote for him, very literally, you're the reason why that character didn't show up in the game, and you only got yourself to blame. So besides that other year 1 anniversary stuff, there's an actual sale in the shop. So many costumes and colors are now discounted, so check that out. Also, everyone now has a color 10. Some people had the color 10 from the pre-order, now everyone does. Some of these I think are actually pretty sharp, like Lily has really cool, rocking the electric blue and pink. Honda has a shock of white hair. Although some of them, like Ryu, unless you really want to go all hobo mode with Ryu, then I guess it's pretty cool. And there's tons more going on, but what I want to talk about next is Capcom put out some very fun stats. And there's some fun details in here, so let's talk about them. So since launch, there's been over 2 billion matches. About 6 million daily battles, 70 battles a second. That's a lot, right? So the interest in the game is certainly there. 174 million hours of total playtime, and most interestingly of this, is it states here this is the number of times Honda can go around the world using his headbutt is 43,000 times during this time span. So interesting math, thank you very much. The calculation method is indeed a secret, but also just Capcom putting it out there, no big deal. Honda can easily go around the world with his sumo headbutt. Now, the real fans, we already knew this, right? Honda can destroy planet killer meteors with his headbutt. He's literally just that good. But now for the rest of y'all, you're getting just a little taste of his true power. Next up, this one is not terribly a surprise, honestly, but top 3 characters used in battle, real battles, not arcade mode, and it's exactly who you'd expect. Ken a bit more than Ryu this time around. Say Street Fighter 5 was Ryu a bit more than Ken, but Ken's also wildly better and top tier this time around, right? So makes sense. Cammy, also very popular, although if we have this same stat this time next year, I'd expect Akuma to bump off Cammy. But yeah, this one basically as you'd expect. 350 million perfect parries, 363 million counter drive impacts, and as for just regular someone mashing on drive impact, I'm assuming the stat's just not here because numbers don't go up that high. And this one I find very interesting, control type. So this is between all modes, and it's basically like dynamic, might as well not count here. It's 75-25 split for classic and modern. And to me, this is a massive win for modern. With numbers like this, modern has immediately justified itself. Yes, obviously classic has more people using it, right? As well it should, because it's the way the game has been for, 30 plus years. But the fact that Modern has such numbers, like, to me, Modern is almost entirely new players. Like, there's the odd old head who will use Modern, but to me, Modern is mostly people that are newer to Street Fighter or just newer to fighting games in general. And as you see just such big numbers for that, means it's an absolute win, and Capcom totally made the right decision to go forward with it. Average time to beat World Tour Story Mode is about 30-ish hours. I'm assuming that means beating JP and Nashal, and then writing credits after that, because technically World Tour Story Mode doesn't quote-unquote end, right? But still, that's a good chunk, right? I really hope there is additions to World Tour in the future, beyond just the Masters, like actual, like, proper more quests, more story, more modes. Give us a real Street Fighter tournament to enter. And over 1 million of those dumb zoning fridges were destroyed. And most popular Masters in World Tour, maxing out the bond level, also about what you would expect. Are Ken and Ryu more popular? Playable? Sure. But in the mode where you can hang out and text with your buddy, yeah, this seems about right. And you can see here in the corner here, Ken is the most popular male master. And the number of jellied eels eaten by Cammy is almost 2 million. I'm assuming that's the item she likes to raise her level. I didn't even know that. I've never went with Cammy in World Tour at all, right? So that sounds awful. That sounds disgusting. But I guess people will do anything for their waifu. I did raise up Aki's level though, and she likes prepaid credit cards, so I guess I can't throw too many stones. As for other numbers, we got a heck of a lot of commentary matches going on. Spinning Bird Kick is the most popular master action, although good on Marissa and Phalanx for showing up. 27.9 million hours in training mode. I'm probably about half of those numbers. Lots of clubs created, lots of drive tickets earned. So lots of fun little infographics. I like little details like this. I'm a stats nerd and I like seeing the stats. So that said, now let's talk about Street Fighter 6 properly over the course of year one. Just what worked, what didn't, what could be better. Now, to talk, I guess, the launch of Street Fighter 6 first. We're at the 1 year anniversary. The launch itself was certainly not perfect, but it is a damn sight better than, say, the launch of Street Fighter 5. Which now, especially with the benefit of hindsight, I think is safe to call mostly a train wreck. It's Street Fighter, we still loved it. I was still there. I played Season 1 a lot, but there was problems. On the flip, Street Fighter 6 didn't launch perfectly, but the overall game balance was much better than, say, launch Street Fighter 5. We had top tiers, we had bottom tiers, sure, right? But it wasn't just as monstrous as it was. I say this as a Vega player in Season 1, okay? I know what a bad character looks like. And certainly in terms of offering as well, right? We had Street Fighter 6 launch with World Tour mode. Launch with a proper, I don't want to call it open world, but exploratory, you can go around RPG. And I'm not going to call World Tour best in class for what it is or anything like that, but it was fun for what it is, especially as a really nice value add to the already existing, proper fighting game. So the core game balance, maybe not perfect, but I think as a proposition for a launch Street Fighter game, maybe the best it's ever been. Because you look at launch Street Fighter 2, certainly more balanced than that. Launch Street Fighter 3, more balanced than that. Launch Street Fighter 4, do you remember the days of Ryu hits you with the uppercut and you lose 80% of your health for it? Or Sagat could do 90%, right? Better than that, and launch Street Fighter 5, well. And then on the flip, content-wise, Street Fighter 5 was as bare bones as you could possibly get. Street Fighter 6 launched with a very healthy amount of content. You could not complain. There was something for everyone, basically. But on the flip, I guess that's one of the fatal flaws of Street Fighter 6 in year one, was that the content didn't keep coming, at least not for the core audience. Yes, there was all sorts of Battle Hub costumes, gimmicks, and geehaws for your avatars and all that, and I'm very sure it has its audience, but it's not the core audience that keeps Street Fighter afloat. Now, I very much understand for things like, the Ninja Turtles collaboration and all that. Those kind of things are inked well in advance, years in advance. So even if there was a little bit of backlash, it doesn't matter because you can't course correct. It's locked in, you gotta do it. And things like collaborations are not inherently bad. I think they're amazing, in fact, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. But for the core Street Fighter fighting game audience, the two things that matter most as far as, post-launch content is characters and costumes. And on that front, year one Street Fighter 6 was basically a failure. Once again, good game. I'm making videos about it, right? Good game. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be making videos. But as a content creator and a player, like, it was rough. As far as costumes, we only got the one set of costumes, right? Like, I was thinking, okay, here comes the Halloween costumes, here comes the Christmas costumes. Like, I didn't necessarily want one set costume for everybody. Like, it was fine if it was like, you know, Street Fighter 5, where 4, 5, 6 characters get holiday or whatever themed costumes in a pack. And we didn't get that. We had to wait a long time for, you know, the one dump of costumes, which were good. I think a lot of people like the costume 3s. I like them myself, but I wish there was more. And much the same here for the characters. I don't think there's a single soul that looked at 4 characters at launch for DLC for year one and was like, oh, that's great, I don't want any more than that. Where in comparison, year one of Street Fighter V had 6 characters, and every successive year had at minimum 5. Street Fighter 6 we had 4, and the release schedule was awful. Rashid came out about a month and change after the game launched, and hey, that's fine, that's perfectly good. Aki came out about 2 months after Rashid did, and then Ed came out 153 days after Aki. That's like not a roadmap, that's a content desert. To call for what it is, this is the modern day, right? Just the game being good enough isn't good enough. We need more content, we need more follow through, we need more things. And waiting almost half a year between characters is disastrous. I'll tell you, like, be honest, my interest fell off a cliff. I was just all the way in Mortal Kombat 1 mode at that point. No new content combined with the fact that there's no balance changes, and to be honest, I wasn't the happiest with the balance as it stood. Better than Street Fighter V, yes, but the characters I like, well, they're not terribly great. They're doing a lot better now, though. But lack of costumes, lack of characters, lack of balance changes, kind of was just a recipe breeding for disinterest. If you weren't just in love with the game as it stood, eventually you'd fall off, and that's not a good thing. But that said, now we're in year 2. We did have the big balance patch. We did have the refresh, right? I think most people are very happy overall with the balance patch. We also have it confirmed, as we have other videos on the channel, there will be more than one balance patch a year this time around for Season 2, Year 2 going onwards, which is great. So we won't lose interest in that way. The game can be kept fresh if things get a little stale. So then the question is, okay, the balance is doing better, right? That's fine. It was already, you know, best at launch ever for Street Fighter, doing better now, good. And it's going to be better yet, more refined over time. But the only issue with the game, as you could call it, is the content pipeline, and will that be addressed going forward into year 2 and beyond? We do not know currently what the Season 2 characters will be or how many there will be. It is now shown and confirmed that Street Fighter 6 will indeed be at the Summer Game Fest, which is happening later this week. So if they're going to announce anything, that's a pretty good place to do it, as it's effectively the replacement for E3. And if we can get, say, 5 characters instead of 4, and we could space it just a bit better, right? So there's not almost a half-year gap between characters, and maybe some more costumes. And on that note, on costumes, the collaborations like we had with stuff like Ninja Turtles. Don't leave something as cool as Ninja Turtles just for Avatar costumes. If I could have bought a costume that could dress up Ryu as Leonardo and like Ken as Raphael, I would have bought the crap out of that. If I could play those as the actual characters in real matches, not just like Avatar battles, would have bought the crap out of it. But as it stood, I didn't get any of the Ninja Turtle stuff because I'm overall not very invested in Avatar Battle Hub matches. They did the Spy Family collaboration. They even did like a small form anime for it. And then you could even get like as much as like a Yor skin for Chun-Li. That's absolute insanity. That's taking potential money and throwing it in the garbage. Like, some people thought Yor was going to be a guest character in Street Fighter 6. It didn't go that far, right? Street Fighter's never done guest characters, at least yet. The door's always open and they make a lot of money. You know, as someone who's also in the NRS community, people might complain about guest characters left, right, front, and center, but in the end, the guest characters always sell the most, and they sell the most by an insane margin. But yes, the collaborations are good, and it's good that they have collaborations for, you know, the avatars, for skins for avatars and all that, right? That shouldn't go away. By all means, take your collaboration and monetize the hell out of Battle Hub out of it, right? It's smart business. But what's even smarter business is to make sure that affects the quote-unquote main game. There is so much money and interest left on the table when you're not doing that. Like, once again, Spy Family, so many people were disappointed when they couldn't even get your skin for Chun-Li. It's just, I don't know, collaborations, there's so much money and so much potential, and the fact that they're not using it for costumes for the main characters is crazy. Like, what if there was a Godzilla collaboration? Would you spend a few bucks to play as Zangief in a Godzilla costume? I bet you would. And don't act like the idea is so sacrosanct you can't do it, because this is Blanca in Street Fighter V, by the way. And this is where he sees out of, by the way. There's so many cross-Capcom collaborations in Street Fighter V, and I think to good success. I know lots of people who love those costumes. So do some handshakes, make some business deals, and bring, collaboration costumes to Street Fighter 6. I think it would do gangbusters, honestly. And just do more costumes in general. Street Fighter V was rotten with costumes, in the best way, right? More costumes equals more better, equals more fun, more people are happy. So that's my mindset where we're at, basically. Street Fighter 6 Year 1, strong start. Maybe not perfect, but strong, right? There's some hiccups, there's some rockiness, but overall, strong. That's why we're here in Year 2, right? The game just didn't die. But for Year 2, the biggest problem that Street Fighter 6 has now is just content. We need more. And on that front, that's happening a bit, right? There will be more patches. So when game balance changes, people's interests spike up a gigantic amount. I got the numbers to prove it. I'm the patch guy, right? I got the numbers to prove it. Numbers go up when it's patch time. So that's good, but more costumes, more characters. It's a cutthroat industry. You got to keep people's attention, and that's how you do it. That said, I think they know that. A lot of the issues, as it were, as it stood Street Fighter 6 Year 1, were, once again, as I mentioned, just things that were set in stone and you couldn't necessarily course correct on. Decisions were made, and then once they couldn't be unmade so easily. But now, new year, new season, lessons learned, and honestly, for the most part, I got no reason to doubt things are going to be even better yet in Year 2 of Street Fighter 6 compared to Year 1. I don't got any inside line, I don't know what's coming up in the future, I'm just in the dark as everyone else, but that's just sort of my gut feeling as it stands. So, Year 1 anniversary, we got it. Year 1 complete. Some ups, some downs, but overall, happy to have Street Fighter 6 here. Maybe did I wish throw loops didn't survive in the Year 2? Well, I guess you can't win them all. Maybe Year 3 is when we get rid of throw loops. But all in all, looking forward to the future. What will that future hold? I'm sure we're going to tear each other apart whenever the DLC is announced over who did or did not get announced, because God help all of you if I don't get my goddamn gorilla. I have been waiting for this gorilla for 7 years now. That said though, that is the video. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.
Yeah.